female mosquitoes are the only ones that feed off of human blood. This is because the female mosquitoes use our blood to reproduce. And the male mosquitoes do not bite us, they actually feed off of nectar. And my name is Jasmine. I will be going over the magnitude.
My name is Jacqueline. I will be going over why this problem exists.
And my name is Jennifer, and I'll be going over the cost of the issue.
My name is Ross, and I'm going over the why, who's affected by it.
Alright, so our focus today will be on the Aedes aegypti mosquito because they are the only species of mosquito that transmit mosquito-borne illnesses. Mosquito-borne illnesses are something that affect everyone. This does not discriminate. So some diseases that were once found in only certain parts of the countries are now being found more around the world because of traveling. So whether the person travels that is infected or the mosquito travels with someone, because they do travel with you sometimes and you don't even notice. And Fresno having an airport makes it a hot spot for mosquito-borne illnesses.
So we each looked up our own issue. We use resources such as Fresno Bee, which is more of a general that covers the smaller topics, but we also use resources such as Mosquitosquad.com, which is purely focused on discovering issues with mosquitoes around the world.
So we'll go ahead and show you guys a little clip on how the mosquito feeds on us.
The sting only lasts a few seconds, but the irritation sticks around long after she's gone. Ever wondered about the science behind a mosquito bite? Female mosquitoes use specialized sense organs to hone in on the best spot on your body to probe for a blood meal. She uses substances on the surface of your skin as indicators of where she is most likely to strike blood. Once she lands on you, the female mosquito spits on her victim's skin to numb the area where her thin, sharp proboscis will go in search of blood. But finding a blood vessel on the first attempt isn't always easy. The hungry mosquito moves her needle-like proboscis around in your skin tissue, searching for the ideal place to tap into a blood source. When she does find a blood vessel, she injects saliva to prevent clotting and to keep your blood flowing. She then uses a specialized pumping system to suction blood cells up through her feeding tube. This system is so powerful it can cause a blood vessel to collapse during a meal. Feeding will continue until her belly is full, or until she's noticed and slapped. A female mosquito can take in 2 to 3 times her body weight in blood at a single feeding. Now, what about the itchy bump you get after the mosquito bite? That is caused by your body's immune response to mosquito saliva, which is an allergen. During an allergic reaction, the immune system releases fluid and cells into the site of the bite to destroy the foreign substance. This extra fluid and cells results in the swelling and itching that accompanies a bite. And if you're wondering why some bites are bigger and itchier than others, it's possible that the mosquito had to move her proboscis around to find a vessel, which means that she spread more saliva over a greater area. Most times the sneaky pests get away with all of this without being noticed. By the time you feel anything, you're scratching.
Alright, so in America there have been outbreaks of West Nile virus and malaria and encephalitis. According to the World Health Organization, the mosquitoes are responsible for several millions of deaths and hundreds of cases every year. However, there is a method that can help us prevent getting bit and becoming infected. The method is called 3Ds. So 3D stands for dress, defend, and drain. Basically, these remind us to drain any any container that holds water, because mosquitoes are attracted to water. That's where they lay their eggs and they kind of develop. So make sure to drain anything once a week. Dress in loose fitted clothing that is light, because mosquitoes are attracted to dark clothing. And also loose fitted clothing will help the mosquito kind of stay off your body, because if you're wearing something that's kind of up on your body and their proboscis has a higher chance of going through the clothes. And defend with any mosquito repellent. Fun fact, Victoria's Secret has a perfume called Bombshell that works as a mosquito repellent. Just because there is a method to help us prevent this does not mean we shouldn't take the mosquitoes seriously, because according to the article History of Mosquito-borne Diseases in the U.S., New Pathogens, it states cases of mosquitoes transmitted pathogens such as West Nile virus and malaria have no cure or treatments. This here was a project that was held in Fresno in 2017. Basically, a company called Alphabet by Google released 20 million mosquitoes in a period of 20 weeks. The mosquitoes were all male, and basically they were sterile, so they mated with the females, but their eggs wouldn't hatch. So the way they made the males sterile was they injected them with the bacteria called Wolbachia. Wolbachia is a bacteria that is found naturally in fruit flies or cherry flies. And so they extracted that bacteria and injected it into the mosquito eggs, and then they had a process where it separated the females from the males. And so they just collected all the males and then they released them in 2 neighborhoods. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but recently maybe you've been getting bit more than before when you were younger. This is because the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes first came to Fresno in 2013.
So I'll be talking about the 3 parts of the cost of the issue: the economic cost, the human cost, and the community cost. So according to the article called The Economic Cost of Mosquito-Borne Diseases, published in 2018, it has stated that every year many nations suffer billions of dollars in losses, spent billions on mosquito control programs, and invest substantially in treatments for patients who have suffered complications after the bite. So in the article, it does not mention what diseases they were infected, but mosquito-borne diseases vary from West Nile virus, Zika virus, malaria, and the yellow fever. So in this picture, this is a statistic that they found in the U.S. alone. So 30,000 people were infected with the West Nile virus. Out of those 30,000 people, 1,200 deaths were reported, and it has cost the U.S. economy $200 million in getting the programs, treatments, hospitalization for the people. In this graph here, you can see how the U.S. has been affected by the mosquito-borne illness, and the darker spots indicates that these states have the most cases of mosquito-borne illness. And right here in California is one of the top 20% that has the most disease cases that have been reported from 2004 to 2016. So the human costs, based on the same article, The Economic Cost of Mosquito-Borne Diseases in 2018, many people individually may suffer time off of work and have spent money on medical and prescription bills, and have also spent their time visiting doctors, seeing their appointments and everything. As you can tell in these pictures, there are different, mosquito bites vary, they are not all the same. Here, this from the far left, you can tell that this person might have an allergic reaction. The middle one is a typical mosquito bite that people scratch on their arms, legs, and then the far right is where they are very swollen. No one has the same reactions. The symptoms may occur in like a few days, probably a few weeks, or even months. There have been cases where when people get mosquito-borne diseases, they don't get the symptoms at all, which is scary.
So what benefits does it have for them to go to the doctor and check if they're sick or not?
Well, basically the mosquito bite bump lasts about 3 to 4 days, and normally if the bump still occurs and it's not vanishing, I would suggest go to the doctor and see it. But if you're having some kind of reaction, or if you're noticing something that is not normal, highly suggest go to the doctor. They would probably prescribe you some medication based off the symptoms that you have. So, yes. So in this video, we'll be playing the side effects of mosquito bites.
mosquitoes are vectors of malaria and dengue fevers. Their bite can also cause allergic reactions in sensitive individuals. Female mosquitoes have piercing mouthparts through which they extract the blood of a victim. The protein from gathered blood is used in egg production. After puncturing the skin with their mouthparts and feeding on blood, mosquitoes leave hard, itchy bumps. In the blood feeding process, mosquitoes inject saliva into their victim, which creates the reactions that cause bite symptoms. Most mosquito bites are harmless and the symptoms subside in a few days. Some discomforting symptoms include swelling of the bite site, soreness, and bleeding. While mosquitoes are an itchy, uncomfortable nuisance, the important problem arising from mosquito bites is transmission of viral or parasitic diseases. However, in some cases, the female mosquito not only sucks the blood of her victim, but also exposes her victim to a serious or even life-threatening ailment. Here are some of the symptoms and side effects of mosquito bites. West Nile virus is spread by mosquitoes and can lead to meningitis, a potentially fatal inflammation of the brain. Chikungunya is another mosquito-borne virus that's very common in Asia and has recently spread to the Caribbean. This virus can cause fever, fatigue, headache, joint pain and swelling, or a rash. Malaria is a potentially fatal disease that is caused by a parasite. This parasite infects mosquitoes, and infected mosquitoes spread the disease to humans. Malaria kills millions of people around the world every year. Yellow fever is a virus that can affect the liver. It is transmitted by mosquitoes, especially in Africa and South America. Dengue is a virus, and it's considered one of the deadlier mosquito-borne illnesses, especially in tropical climates. Patients can experience symptoms such as fever, fatigue, headache, bleeding gums, pain behind the eyes, pain in the muscles, bones and joints. Mosquitoes can transmit the arbovirus, which can lead to life-threatening inflammation of the brain. If you tend to have large or severe reactions to mosquito bites, then seek medical help immediately. Keep your family and yourself healthy and happy by protecting yourself with mosquito net or mosquito repellent and reduce your chances of mosquito-borne illnesses. How do you protect yourself from mosquitoes? Please comment.
So some of the symptoms that they mentioned were fever. It can also cause depression, blindness, loss of coordination, inability to swallow, sometimes anorexia and muscle twitching and tremors, but not everyone experiences the same kind of symptoms. Everybody just varies depending on how they react to it, if they're immune to it or not. The next thing I'll be talking about is the community costs. So the community in general, if there's like an outbreak of a mosquito-borne illness, they would increase the healthcare programs. Most people will call in sick and lose productivity of their work. They would also call the mosquito control measures, and they would also increase the supplies of bug repellent. So from Barbara Anderson, author who wrote a Fresno Bee article published in 2018, mentioned that last year alone, 553 people became infected in the state and there were 44 deaths. There were no West Nile virus deaths reported in the Central Joaquin Valley in 2017, but Fresno County had 14 infections, Kings County had 5 infections, Madera County had 2, Merced had 11 infections, and Tulare County reported 13 infections. So this shows that not only it's a worldwide issue, but it's also occurring in our neighboring cities. In this picture above, it's mentioned that the economy spent about $12 billion in a year just lost in productivity due to work absence caused by mosquito-borne illnesses. Knowing that it can affect within a community, who are the most impacted by this issue?
Well, if you look to the next slide, overall, I'm pretty sure everyone here has been infected by mosquitoes. There's 2 continents who do not have mosquitoes, and that's Antarctica and Iceland because of their severe coldness at times. But as you can see here, all the red and yellow areas are where mosquitoes are mostly populated. and it seems to follow the equator. This is because mosquitoes are drawn to warmer weather and more tropical areas. It's because of just the way they adapt to their environment, just the warmth helps them out. The largest populated with mosquitoes is Brazil, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. However, here, go back to the map. Africa, see that the west coast of Africa and Northern America and the lower half of Asia, all those places are actually known for their mass numbers of diseases that follow with mosquitoes. So it's not just like here, you might get a bite, maybe scratch. Over here it's more severe, like major cases with mosquitoes. In this quote from Scientific American, it's just talking about how there actually really isn't too much known to what attracts mosquitoes to one specific person. Besides, with O-type blood, they are attracted to it more. This is because O-type blood, like people with O-type blood, have more lactic acid with their skin, and this draws the mosquitoes to them. So does body odor. I also saw how Fresno Bee was discussing about how in the last 5 years, just here in Fresno, mosquito population has nearly doubled. This is because of the warmer weather and the drought. And then just a short video.
To all of us in the summertime, they can infect both you and your pet with deadly diseases. With 6 ABC Action News reporter Jake Peterson gives us an inside look at the new battleground in the war against mosquitoes in the Bay Area.
Mosquitoes don't have many fans, especially in Florida. But USF Sarasota manatee biology professor Arpano Talang and her students are putting aside their bias and spending all summer long with the insects. Welcome to Mosquito Lab. It's a place dedicated to these guys. This group will study mosquitoes inside and out, trying to figure out what makes the bug tick.
I appreciate the amazing talent that mosquitoes have, but I do understand we need to control their numbers.
By looking at what is essential for mosquitoes to live, researchers can come up with ways to naturally kill them off. The research being done here could help control the mosquito population in the future. But researchers here say there's things you can do now to help protect their family from these pesky bugs. Your property can be a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Wheelbarrows, kiddie pools, and gutters should be cleaned all.
If you can find an inch of standing water, that's probably too much. Get rid of that.
Some things you can't control. Scientists suggest men are more likely to get attacked over women, and adults are more likely to be bitten versus children.
The end game, I think, to reduce their numbers.
So hang tight, mosquito maggots. The solution will be on its way. Jake Peterson, ABC Action News.
So now Jacqueline will be discussing the climate change and how it affects the mosquito population.
So global climate change will affect all living organisms, and most organisms will become extinct, or most species, except the mosquitoes. They are the ones that are going to be benefiting from climate change. Climate change is making it possible for mosquito-borne illnesses to become more widespread. An increase in flooding and storms, changes in precipitation, and an increased duration of warm season result in an expanded geographical range, which will then in turn cause diseases such as Lyme disease, malaria, and Zika, and West Nile virus. And about 68% of California will have increased probability for West Nile virus by 2050. Weather across the country has become more tropical, and it's easier for mosquitoes to live in these conditions, and they tend to live longer amounts of time. And this picture just shows you the Aedes aegypti mosquito and how widespread it is in California. And this graph shows when mosquitoes bite and the disease transmission in California. It's usually between May and October. Those are the high-risk months, which means mosquitoes are most active, and so you should cover yourself more and be more aware during those times. And Fresno has seen an increase in mosquitoes because recently we had a wet winter where we had above average rainfall, and that combined with the heat creates a great habitat for mosquitoes to live in. Since the valley has been getting warmer and winters have been getting shorter, mosquitoes can adapt and live longer through the winter, and eventually, if our winters keep getting shorter, they might just be able to live throughout the entire year here in the valley. Yeah. So what are the barriers? According to Matten Shalomey in her 2017 web article, what would happen if we eliminated mosquitoes? She states there are over 3,500 species of mosquitoes, and that would be nearly impossible to get rid of them all. And people have mentioned using pesticides and sprays, but we won't be able to hit all those mosquitoes.
So overall, the mosquito problem is a very big problem. There are some small solutions like bug spray and just things you can try to figure out to not get bitten, but it is serious. There are deaths that are related to mosquitoes. It may not be a huge problem around here, but around the world it is. It does have high costs. There's deaths, there's diseases. However, there's no way we can really just get rid of mosquitoes because they're so largely populated on the earth. But we can just find ways to deal with it with certain products.
So ways I do believe that we could help with it would be maybe making more companies like Debug Fresno that help decrease the amount, because when they released the mosquitoes they mated, which made the amount of mosquitoes that were biting people decrease by 25%. And according to the Verily blog, Debug Fresno, our first U.S. field study, published July 14, 2017, states, "We hope to demonstrate success with Debug Fresno that will benefit the local communities working with us on the study, and later the other communities globally, where Zika virus, dengue fever, and chikungunya are endemics." So that will definitely help. I know there is another company called Oxitec that is also trying to do the same thing, so maybe having more companies like that would definitely help prevent these diseases. And our final statement is mosquitoes do kill more people in a day than sharks do in a century. With that said, do not underestimate the power of the mosquito. They may be small, but their effect is tremendous. And that concludes our presentation.